Welcome to the Louisville Sluggers podcast with your host, Zach Wood. We cover everything about MLB, from the regular season to the postseason and even the offseason. We got you covered. Welcome to episode 31 of the Louisville Sluggers podcast. Special guest Mike Scudiero joins us on the program. Mike runs a solo New York Yankees podcast titled Yapping, which can be found on YouTube. Mike shares his experience in radio, his opinions on the Yankees' defensive needs, and helps decide which Yankees are either a Jedi or a Sith. As always, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Mike Scudiero, thank you so much for joining the show. It's episode 31 of the Louisville Sluggers podcast. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no problem, man. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. So I had to do a little bit of research. I felt that for someone of your pedigree, because you sound very natural on the mic, I was like, this guy knows a thing or two. So I went back to your very first episode, and I listened through it. I had to go back. So you graduated from Five Towns College. You had, I believe it was, you're trying to be an aspiring sports broadcaster. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
That's awesome. So were you mostly focused in radio? And I know you talked about how you had 4 years as a freshman, basically to a senior, where you did a sports talk radio for your school.
Yeah, I started my own sports talk show right away, like a month into my freshman year at Five Towns, because fortunately, it's a very small school, which in a lot of ways leads to really good opportunities. So sure. We had a very small radio station in the front of the school. It was like the size of a broom closet. And all you had to do was pitch a show idea to the program director and the one who runs the whole station. And the guy who's a station manager, his name is Matt. He ended up becoming a dear friend of mine to this day. We're still very close.
That's awesome.
He's 2 years older than me. So I started my own solo sports talk shows called All Things Sports. Did that for all 4 years I was there. Solo show, 1 hour per week.
It's got to be tough with the homework and things like that, and a job. You could have had a part-time job.
Yeah, just jotting down notes. It was more fun than anything. I remember that I would never listen to my first 5 minutes on the air when that light went on. But I did that for 4 years, and then about 2 years in, about a year and a half or 2 years in, me and Matt actually started a co-hosting New York sports talk show together.
That's awesome.
It was called Big Apple Banter.
I like that. That's a cool name. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to take credit for that. Matt came up with that. It's awesome. I loved it. Yeah. But we did that all the way until I graduated. Same thing for All Things Sports. So for 2 years, I was doing 2 shows, but the first 2 and then all 4, I was doing my one as well. And then about halfway in, our radio station moved towards the back of the school and expanded. We got state-of-the-art equipment, a beautiful studio. We upgraded to Zeta automation system. We got a beautiful Wheatstone audio board. It was amazing. So the experience there was just really nice. And I learned a lot there. All the skills that I apply to my podcast now, I do everything. I do everything of the show on my own, and I learned all the skills from there.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, Mike, I'm very impressed by your whole operation. I mean, because you sound very professional, and I've recorded music over the years, and I've done the podcast stuff. So some of my friends, when they heard the podcast, or even new people, they're like, Zach, you sound very good on the microphone. I'm like, I appreciate that. Well, it comes from 10 years of making songs. You know what I mean? So you have to get comfortable, right? But when I first listened to your podcast, a few months ago, I was like, man, he talks for he talks for a whole hour, but he's not boring, one bit. I can just listen to the whole thing, and I really admire that, because for me, I have my friends, and they're my co-hosts sometimes too. And it's nice to bounce the ideas and go back and forth. But, I get nervous when I'm trying to just do a show by myself. I feel like I have to have this long Word document, full of notes and a longer outline than just what we're talking about this evening. But it's daunting. I mean, for sure, because you want to keep someone's attention, but you do a really good job of it.
I appreciate that. It definitely is. I don't want to say harder. It's just a different animal doing a solo show. it's definitely because even co-hosting that has its own difficulties. You could not mesh with somebody and the thing could turn out to be a disaster. Like you also have
Yeah,
to have chemistry. So that has its own,
absolutely. Yeah,
that has its own difficulties, and that's why I'm not necessarily saying solo is harder. It's just a very different animal. But
sure.
yeah, hosting alone, it can be intimidating, especially when you first start. But as long as you're prepared, you know what you're talking about, dude. Before you know it, you're talking for a half hour straight, and you're only through half the crap you wanted to talk about. So,
Exactly. That's why I like the guest segments, right? Because I really want to get perspective on the people I'm talking to, and I feel like we're all fans of the same thing here, right? So then the conversation can go much further. So more notes on kind of that is you said you became kind of a fan of baseball 2007, 2008. So what was it that caught your attention about baseball?
it was going to the old Yankee Stadium for the first time.
That's
That's
awesome.
what
Been
broke
there.
it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm going to tell you something shocking right now. I've told this story to a lot of people, and people who know me very well and they follow me, they think I'm completely lying about this. I swear to God, it is the truth. Before 2007, when I went to my first Yankee game, I actually despised sports.
Really?
I thought sports were the dumbest thing on the planet. I don't know what Mike that was, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of glad he doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's funny you say that
Like,
though.
no, but I couldn't. I just thought they were dumb. And my
Right.
dad used to always take me to Met games. Used to always take me to Shea Stadium, like a couple of rows behind the plate, behind the dugout. Never
Yeah.
connected with it. But
Wow,
then
that's crazy.
in 2007, the last year or two, the second to last year, the old stadium was up.
Yeah.
I walked in and I remember it myself, but my dad, who was from an outside perspective looking at me, even described it as someone looking at the gates of heaven for the first time. Like
Yeah.
I was frozen. I didn't know what to think. So after that, I just started watching. I watched in '07 decently.
Hmm.
2008, I picked up a lot. They unfortunately didn't make the playoffs that year.
Right,
And
right. That was the last year of the old stadium.
yep, and then
Yeah.
then the stadium was knocked down after that, which I even back then I kind of wanted them to turn it into like a museum. I hated when they knocked it down, but
Yeah, for sure.
um, and then and then 2009 was like I was just for some reason just having the new stadium, and I just loved the team from top to bottom, the pitching, the bullpen, the offense. Like how the defense
What a
was.
year! What a year! Yeah, that's the only
I,
I own that Blu-ray, of the World
yeah, it's like
Series, things like that. Yeah.
it's just like my favorite infield of all time is still A-Rod, Jeter, Cano, Teixeira from left to
Yeah.
right. Still my favorite
Oh,
infield ever.
you trusted
So
it. That's the thing. You
yeah,
trusted it. I don't think that, maybe if there was like a bad hop on a line drive to Teixeira, I feel like maybe, but for the most part, they all like you didn't if it was in the infield, it was an out.
yeah,
That was the thing, and we've grown up with players recently where it's not that, right. It's in the situation of someone like Andujar where it's like he might catch it on the hop and you're like, oh, he's got it, and then he'll do the double pump throw and it's too late. So it's
it
like even if he gets it, I don't even know if he's gonna get the out. That's the thing.
and it's like and then you really look back on that and you really learn to appreciate having watched
Yeah.
that time, because when you watch baseball and you watch a team and you
Yeah.
have fielders that you just, no matter how easy of a play it is, you hold your breath it's exhausting
It is,
watching a game like
yes.
that.
I the last couple of years that's tested my patience so much.
No,
I'm
it's
sure my wife has heard all of it. I mean, it's funny because I remember I was 2009. Okay, so I was a junior or depending on the year, right? I guess a sophomore, but I remember that being such an awesome series. I had a friend at the time. He was a Phillies fan, and we were just going at it all the time. It was such a good series. I over the past couple of years, I've been thinking a lot, with the Yankees not making the World Series, right? And I think like, you know what? I would have just been happy if they just made an appearance. Even if they lost, I would have been happy about it because like that, over the past 4 years, the team has been expected to make it, and so it's like I just wish we had that at least to think about, because then at least you would have had at least, even if they lost, you'd have 7 games potentially, right? Or 4 if they just were terrible. Of like, hopefully some wins and some like awesome, memorable moments, but it's not gonna happen. It didn't happen, but it will happen. I know it will. I know it will. We're all just getting over this hump of the, MLB and MLPA trying to figure it out.
yeah, yeah, it's got to happen again eventually. But yeah, listen,
Yeah.
2009, that was the year for that. That was really when I was a big Yankee fan already leading up to that, steadily watching more and more. But after they won, that was when I combusted into flames. But and then after that, but like it's so weird how backwards it got. Like 2000, like you look at this championship window that the Yankees are supposedly in, and they are in it. That's just what they
Right.
call it. But in this window is when they've come up short of expectations. And then in the year 2017, when this sort of baby bombers era kicked off,
Yeah.
that was when there were no expectations. Yet they haven't made it that far since then.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yep.
as far as specific, they did make it to the ALCS again in 19, but they were one game short. They make it to game 7.
It's interesting
So,
you say that because it reminds me of the Boston Red Sox this year.
yeah.
I mean, the projections at the beginning of the year. I remember doing some graphics, and I mean, they were like close to fifth or fourth place. They weren't looking as good as they did, and then they just somehow just stayed in the hunt all year, and then they got all the way to the CS. So
It's absolutely, and a lot of things went their way. I mean, between like there are just certain things like there was that one play. God, I don't even specifically remember because with all this lockout nonsense, it feels like ages ago, just 5 months.
right, I know it really
But
does.
there was that play with the where the ball it was a deflection and then it went over the little wall and they called it. Do you remember the play I'm talking
I
about?
kind of do. Yeah, I think I do remember what happened there. And our runs couldn't
It was
score. Is
against
that what happened?
it was against the Rays with Kiermaier. He was held up from
Yeah.
scoring, and it was
Yeah.
and everybody was in an uproar about it. And it's just little things like
Yep.
that happening where I'm like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah.
what? I
In the
think
Stanton
that's
home
it.
runs, the Stanton double home run, like or the single, the
Yep.
Stanton single that should have been a 2-run home run.
Yeah. Oh my God, the screaming! I thought that was off the bat. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I did too. I did too. I thought that because I was wild card games are always so stressful, right? They're always fun for one team, and they're terrible for the other team. And I that's the hardest thing about them is it's a one game playoff after playing 162.
and that was just
And
after. And the reason why we all got like that too is because just a couple of weeks prior, we would just got off one of the most exciting series at Fenway
yeah,
when Stanton was hitting him
and
unconditionally.
he did it
So
again, and that's
yeah,
why everybody it's that one crushes my heart when I think about that one.
yeah, but I mean, dude, it's crazy what you said before though. Like, I'm a guy. I want if my team's gonna make the World Series, I'm very Jeter-esque in saying you got to win it. Just
Yeah, no, I trust me. I want him to win it. I just
No,
feel like
absolutely. But
if this, yeah, yeah,
I do totally get what you're saying though, because when you think about it, not only have they not won since '09, but they haven't even won
yep.
a pennant since '09.
Right,
That's
that's
crazy.
exactly right, and that's yeah. When I think about the Astro series, and Gary fumbling the ball at home, and then what came out after, and, there's just a lot of things I think about where I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they should have made it. I don't
Yep.
care what the outcome would have been. I just feel like they could have made it. And I also still think that at the time, I guess it was the Dodgers, right? It was Astros Dodgers. So it wouldn't have been an easy World Series anyway.
No.
I don't know if they even had the depth. So, they could have won a few, but I don't know if they would have won it anyway. But it would have been a fun one to watch. I really, truly believe they'll be there in the next couple of years. I mean, it's getting to it can't be one of those gaps where it's like two decades, 20 years, a generation before they make it again. I think it would be extremely embarrassing to go another 8 years and not make an appearance.
Well, I look back on it like because I think it was on one of my Yapping Yankees episodes at some point right after they got eliminated in the wild card game. I look back and I was like, let's see, the decade of the 2010s. I was like, has there been a decade since the 20s that they haven't won a pennant? I don't think there was. Because even in the 80s, when they didn't win a single title, they won the pennant in like in
Right.
81. They made the World Series. So like in the 80s, they won a pennant. So even in that decade, they had one. I don't
Yeah.
since the 1910s, 100 years ago. It's
Yeah.
really crazy when you
It is. It is. It's the talent on the team, right? It makes no sense. So I think that's 1 year we're just riddled with injuries. I mean, but yet they fought, right? They fought
yeah.
through it, and that's why I was like, it's gonna happen. Like it's just sometimes you just have that feeling. So I was very bummed about that, but it is what it is. But
2019, I thought the stars are lining up because of like the 30 plus injuries. They made it
right,
to the CS again against the Astros. They're going to beat them this time. They
I
won
know.
103 games, just like they won
Yeah,
103 in '09. I'm like, the
yeah,
stars are
yeah.
lining up. This is it. It's going to happen again.
And that's the thing, right? Like the Chapman blown saves have just become almost a meme in a way, right? Not quite, but almost. And that's the thing. Like I'm tired of that memory, and I just maybe they wanted to put him back there the second time to, like show that he can get over. That's not gonna happen again. You know what I mean? But then it does, and then of course it's Altuve, and then it's like I can't even hate on Altuve anymore. You know what I mean? Like he always just shows up. He's so clutch. You know, one of the most, I believe if he's not tied, he owns it or something. But the most postseason home runs, and it's just insane to I can't even be mad at him anymore. I mean, I'm could be salty about 2017, but I can't be mad about 2019. Or
Yeah, no,
2020, whatever it is. I can't be mad about anything. I mean, they've completely they beat us at every turn, and they're a very good club, and they didn't need to do what they did. That's the thing. They just didn't need to.
listen, a lot of people who did wrong in baseball didn't have to do what they did. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think A-Rod had the juice. I don't think Bonds had the juice. I don't think the
right.
Astros had to cheat. It's just a lot of it's
Yeah, yeah, I agree, 100%, 100%. So moving on, That's fun little stroll down memory lane there for sure. Juan Soto turning down a $350 million deal, 13 years, and he confirmed it. I mean, Jeff Passan had the article about it. What are your opinions on it? Well, he's 23. Is that how old he is? 23.
I believe it because I think he was 19 or 20 in 2019 when they won. So
yeah, because this would lead him to be 36.
Yeah, so yeah, he's anywhere that 22, 23, that area right now. But yeah, listen, obviously to the casual person, they probably faint upon hearing that. But
right. Yeah.
Even Jeff Passan, he even like sort of went on a Twitter rant when people were accusing Juan Soto of being ridiculous. And listen, $350 million for 13 years, that is a crazy contract. I'm not denying that.
Oh yeah.
But I think we also can't deny that Juan Soto, especially for his age and what he meant to the Astros, to the Nationals, in 2019 at such a young age in that World Series championship. I mean, he's like invaluable. So
right.
So I can't like shame a guy for thinking that he's worth like a crap ton of money when you already have the resume that he does at such a young age. It's incredible.
Right.
So
is he a free agent in 2 years? Is that what it is?
I believe it's 3. I could like look that up real quick, but like regardless, I can't get on a guy for like feeling like he knows his worth. Like and let's be honest, like in a few years, there are probably going to be people requesting $600 million contracts, 700. The more that time goes on, it's just going to get more ridiculous. So
yeah.
That's just the matter.
So now I can't remember what deal Trout had signed, but that's been the biggest so far, right? That was over 400 something, or that was around 400. Yeah. It was 375 or something. It was because his total earnings, like with the Angels, would eclipse $500 million. I remember reading that, right? But I don't remember what the extension was, but definitely a large one.
Yeah, Soto's got 2 more years of arbitration, 2023, 2024, and then in 2025 he's a free agent. So
wow, yeah.
3 more years this year, and then 23 and 24.
It's a great deal, but I think at that point what are they going to look like? What's the Nationals going to look like in the next few years? I don't think they'll be in that position. They have a lot of work to do to be in that position after giving up, or after even getting the Dodgers 1 and 2 prospects in their package when they still have a lot of work to do. But I think he'll end up somewhere else. I truly do.
I do respect him for wanting to maybe test out free agency, see where the Nationals are at, because while that's still an incredible amount of money, I'd like to think there are some baseball players out there, regardless of how much of a business this is, that also care about winning, not just money. So, so if the Nationals are in a crap place by then, and he's like literally the only source of hope there, he might be saying, not only do I think I'm worth more money, but I also want to have the opportunity to go to another team and make great money and have the possibility to win in free agency. So that's what I can't shame the guy, even though obviously 350.
Oh yeah, sure. I would sign that contract today. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, but you compare that to the shortstop for the Rays. I can't think of his name. It's eclipsing me at the moment, but young guy as well.
Yep.
He signed a very long-term contract that
I'm
very
still
team friendly.
I'm still in the age of Willie Adames. I can't get him out of my head.
Man, what's his name? Oh my gosh, it's oh my god.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts. The problem is that it feels like everything's Wander Franco. It's it just everything feels like ages ago, so it's just tough. But listen, I can't get on him because he's a young kid. He's got his whole career ahead of him. So that's basically my opinion. I can't get on him, regardless how ridiculous.
No, and that's the thing. It's Juan Soto. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, right? That's the biggest thing. It's like when Judge got injured. I'll probably segue here in a second to my Judge question. It's when Judge got injured after such an awesome year, and then just here and there not making the full seasons, right? Like he played his best year was still 2017. Now, last year was an incredible season for Judge. His probably second best season. So that was a great turnaround for him. Definitely something every fan wanted to see. You worry about that. You worry about Soto getting hurt at such a young age with so much potential. How could it really affect them, right? So I truly hope he stays healthy because someone like Mike Trout, he pretty much didn't play at all last year.
Yeah,
And he's been playing since 2011, so you think about it. He's been in this game for a decade already. So that's pretty nuts to think. And Juan Soto's just getting started.
No, that's the most difficult part about injuries. When you have to see a guy sit on the sidelines when you know that he could be out in the field doing remarkable things. And
Oh yeah,
like
truly,
Soto,
yeah.
I'm not sure I've seen someone like walk as much as Soto and get on base as much as Soto since like freaking Barry Bonds. To be honest with you, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much pitchers don't want to deal with him, and he's so
Yeah.
he's like
That lefty swing. That lefty
yeah,
swing.
I remember one of the home runs he hit against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I think it was a year or two ago. It didn't even look like he barreled it at all, so low and in, and it made it into like the fifth row in left field. And like,
Yeah. Or that one Mets home run.
oh,
I interned for the Mets. I've been in that area, the concourse of the Coca-Cola sign was. I mean, that's high up there.
no, it is.
That's high up. I've been there. That's very high.
And his plate discipline, which with some young hitters who are jumpy can certainly be questionable. He
Yeah.
is so it's like he's such a great player. Oh
Yeah, truly. I think he could crack the 400. Absolutely. But I think 500. I think it might be a little too much, too soon. But one day it'll happen. I think 400 for sure. I think that's just the way it's going. I think, I'm looking at someone like Manny Machado. I don't know if he's living up to it, in my personal opinion. Maybe there's people that disagree and they could show me stats, but I don't know if he's living up to the $300 mark. I think Bryce Harper certainly is. I know that there's some funny business between Harper's years and Machado's years, which is why I was so interested to see why Bryce wanted so many more years. But hey, why not make an extra 30 mil when you're older?
Hey,
So why not? Recently, Aaron Judge was actually interviewed on R2C2 with Ryan Rucco and CC Sabathia, and he talks about potential. He would love to get an extension done before the season, and if he says that this is my final year, I have a lot of good memories. Do you think they'll extend him, and what salary do you see that at, or what contract length?
you see, I hate getting into contract length because I honestly a big part of it I think since I don't think it's going to be happening this offseason, I think it's going to depend on the 2022 he has. Like that'll dictate a lot. Like if he's hurt for most of the season again, he's going to take a hit. But
Yeah.
if he repeats 2021, he's going to get paid. Like it's
Right.
honestly, this next year is going to be a big indicator.
Yeah.
And I do think the Yankees should wait until next offseason. I don't see the rush. The guy's here for another year. Let him play out the year, see what happens, and then based on what happens there, make your decision next winter. But
Okay.
But
I like that. I mean, I think that's a pragmatic approach. I don't know if the same goes for Gallo though. I think they might trade Gallo, or just because I've seen him play. He's a Ranger for a very long time, and either they try to package him and trade him if he's doing really well, or even if he's not doing well, someone else is going to want him.
mm-hmm.
And someone else is going to sign him. He might even come back to the Rangers at the end of the year.
Yeah, like it's and if you could get something by handing off Gallo because he's still under control, and that's good too because the Yankees got the worst version of him for the second half of 21. Unfortunately, it was dreadful.
Yeah.
So he had those one or two big home runs here and there,
Right,
but outside of that, you really got nothing out of him. So
yeah, and it takes some practice to. I mean, A-Rod did it right, but that's A-Rod. Coming from a very, there's media down here, but it's not the same as the big stage in New York. It's just not. And even for the Mets, it's a bigger stage. The media and press are totally different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But with if you could help get some with that, then fine. But when it comes to Judge, like if it plays out like that and he's not signed till next winter, there's no doubt that I want him in New York. I know a lot of people have their doubts about him, and whatever happens in 2022 happens. I'm not a fortune teller, but last January before 2021, I predicted that he would play 140 plus, which happened. I was very bold because of how the last 3 seasons played out prior to that.
Sure.
And then I also predicted he'd hit 40 plus home runs. Of course, he had 39 just to tease me.
Yeah, yeah, of course you did. Of course you did.
but like I was confident in him, and I am confident in him this year again because I look back at it, and as much as I hate to be like, oh, it wasn't his fault, it really wasn't. And 18 got hit in the wrist, fine, and he was on pace to have a terrific season in 2018. He was doing great. And then in 19, that was really the one year I see, and then 2020 was what it was. So
right.
And then 2021 comes around, and he shows the closest to 2017 that he showed in 5 years.
Absolutely. I mean, that's last year was I'd never even worried about Judge. I knew he had it, and Stanton was also performing at a great level too. So I was happy to see those guys back. I'm just so tired of the like we got some people that are, like Luke Voigt, tremendous, great 2020. Everybody knew he was hurt, but he was playing through it, but he was playing great. And then he kept literally the team alive, right? And that's why I see and I relate to why he's feeling the way he is about things. And then, but Rizzo coming in was definitely a strategic move, defensive move. You had to do it. Voigt was hurt. It was the best move for the team. And I actually am fine with Rizzo. I would love it if he came back, especially if it was an affordable contract. When he was there, I knew he was going to scoop everything. I wasn't worried anymore about bad throws from some random third baseman that we had to plug in from AAA. I just wasn't worried about it. But going back, it's like, Luke Voigt's on fire 2020. And you're like, oh, man, that would be great in a full season next year. No, he's hurt all year. Or it's the year when Stanton and Andujar, I think this is 17 or something like that, or 18, they're on fire. And Duhar gets hurt. He's no longer what he was. And then Stanton is, he's hurt all year. Or Judge is hurt. And then it's like no one's in sync. It's someone's super hot, someone's super cold, or the two best people are extremely hot and everyone else is extremely cold. And that's what I think I love so much about the older teams, right? And it's like, I'm not sure who's on your poster back there, but I think I can tell, right? I can see CC. It's probably Jeter, A-Rod, Mariano, Teixeira, Cano, right? Yep. So I think my mom might literally have that poster or something very similar to it. And it's like, those guys it was just good the whole time. Everyone's just on it. And no one was really in a terrible slump most of the time. And, maybe if everyone was slumping, then that's fine. And when A-Rod came back in 2009, things started to heat up a little bit more. And
they'd pick each other up.
Right, exactly. And just like right now, it's so tough because you can't have one player carry this whole team. You can't have two people carry this whole team. And Gary Sanchez was doing better, and then he slumps again. And then, when you're looking at the lineup, and it's Tauchman, and it's Odor, and it's Frazier, and I'm like, what is this squad?
And then you look at the payroll associated with those names.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I thought Odor was fine for what he had to do. I knew he wasn't going to be around too long. He was free. I mean, come on. They're going to plug and play a guy who's free. That's just facts. And but I think that's the thing is why does we're us as fans, I'm sure you've been a fan a long time. You look at how well balanced the old teams were and why they won so much. But why does it take this long to get a balanced lineup of righties and lefties? It blows my mind. We had 9 righties. I feel like, you know what I mean? The first 2 months of the past season. And it was no wonder we're all striking out. They keep throwing sliders outside or curveballs to the left. It made no sense to me. I was like, why are they taking? And then you got Rizzo, you got Gallo, you had Odor. Then you finally started seeing production and you started getting home run balls in the short porch.
Yeah, it's just a matter of spending in the right places, and sometimes there have been errors throughout the last few years with that. My favorite one to go to from years ago is Jacoby Ellsbury. Contracts like that, they bite you right in the ass.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And that's so. Speaking of contracts like that, do you think truly that first base and shortstop are the primary concerns? Do you think that the prospects coming up? I know it's hard to predict, but do you think someone like Andrelton Simmons in a 1-year, 2-year deal is a more budget-friendly approach, or getting someone like Correa is the answer? Because that's a big spend.
Getting someone like Simmons is definitely budget-friendly. It's not winning-friendly. Because to be honest with you, not only is Simmons' defense actually it's actually slipped a bit of late, even though defense is obviously still a strength. The guy can't hit. He
Yeah.
cannot hit. So that's the problem. I don't want to go stopgap and then wait for something that's not even a guarantee. I actually happen to believe that Volpe can succeed. He's like one of the only ones that I'm actually like pretty certain in, and even he's not a guarantee though. But I don't want to go the stopgap way because I want to win. I want to win.
It's been too long, as I've said, and I brought it up.
We've been in purgatory too long over here. We've gotten too many promises that have fallen way short the last few years, and I just think they need to go really hard over here. I've said it before, whether it be Story or Correa, I don't care which one. I happen to like both guys immensely. I want Correa more, just skills wise, but I'd be perfectly content with a Story and an Olsen. And my answer to your question, are shortstop and first base the top priorities? Hell yeah, they are. And I think it was John Heyman put the tweet out like a couple of weeks ago, and I even quote tweeted afterwards. He said, obviously first base is not like, it's not their main need. I'm like, it is certainly a main need of theirs. Are you crazy? Because the only one they have there right now is literally Luke Voigt, who I think is all but gone. Because I mean,
he's a DH at this point. Let's be real.
And
which his value will go up in the NL and that seems to be an agreed upon thing, which is great. You have other suitors to trade him to, and you have talent to pick from. So you could do it that way.
And the thing is too, I was screaming my head off all throughout the second half on my show, on Twitter and all of it, when they finally got the gall to play Stanton in the outfield, which I was begging for since April.
Yeah, I was begging for it the past 3 years in a row. You paid the dude $300 million or however much. Why isn't he playing the outfield too?
And this is a guy. It's not like he was a lousy outfielder in Miami. He was a Gold Glove right fielder. He put him in the outfield, and then that opened up the DH role for Voigt. And when Voigt wasn't healthy, when he was healthy rather, they still weren't using him as DH. He was just sitting there collecting dust. And they even cooled off that hot streak he was on. You remember?
I do remember that. I think that's what I'm saying. I don't understand these. So you got to notice when like Joe Torre, I think it was not Joe Torre. Sorry, Joe Girardi, in that 09 Blu-ray, he's talking. He noticed against the Phillies that he's like, I can't remember the pitcher's name, but there was a certain relief pitcher where he's like, I just noticed from me watching, he's destroying them. And he's just my ace in the hole. And I'm going to throw him out there when I think he can get us out of a situation. And he did. Every time he got him out of the situation. And right now, back then, I mean, that's the main stage, right? The World Series, the biggest thing. Every pitch matters. Every out matters. Every inning matters. Everything matters. And so it's like, it's so by the book now. Or it's by the nerds. And it's like that. I don't know if it's a Boone thing. I've actually really liked Boone. I feel like he gets a lot of hate, and I understand why he gets a lot of hate. But it's when you look at Manfred, right? I know we all have no one likes Manfred. He's the owners. He symbolizes the owners. He's a spokesman for the owners, right? Right, and that's the thing. Boone is a very mostly soft voice, unless and I like when he sticks up for people, because when he sticks up, he's right, because he doesn't do it that often. And it's like, and
his temper tantrums are epic.
They are epic, and they're pretty funny. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, he's the soft-spoken guy that's very calculated. He knows what he's supposed to say. He was in media, so I like Boone. He gets a lot of credit, and they like Boone. He got re-signed. So but everybody's saying Boone this, Boone that. It's not up to Boone. It's not. He doesn't have the eyes like Girardi does. I hate to say it. I mean, it's fantastic. He led him to, 2 seasons in a row of 100 wins or something like that, or at least he's making it to the playoffs every year. But those are from calculations. I'm sure he has some things to say.
It's calculations and cashing and things that go way to the top. That's why, regardless of how many coaching changes you've seen these last few years, a lot of it remains the same, like just the same result. But I mean, that's why I need them to just, when you see something, just use your head a little bit. Like in the second half, when I was saying, like, you had the DH position open for Luke. You still did nothing. You cooled him off. And if he's to be used as a DH now, then great. But if you look at first base right now, other than him, who can't play the field, he makes his plays here and there, but he can't play the field overall. He's a below average defender. That's just
I'm not gonna disagree on that.
But he's a great hitter, so you could utilize that as DH, and maybe he's valuable elsewhere. But who else do you have at first? Rizzo's a free agent. Olsen's not a guarantee yet,
Right.
and Freeman.
You have DJ, but you know DJ is
Not,
better at second. You know
yeah,
that.
it's not. That's not a season long solution. So
It's
that's.
not. It's
But
not.
that's why I'm saying also the same thing with shortstop, which is also such an important position on the field. I'm not willing to go with something that I just don't see is going to push them to where they need to be. They're in
Yeah.
the win now window, so act
Yeah.
like it. Go
Yeah. I
for
mean,
it.
their outfield's fine. You got. I mean, you've already stated it. I mean, Hicks comes back. We need him to get some walks. Just
Be healthy, dude.
be
Be healthy.
healthy and be slightly above average. That's all I need from Hicks. Be slightly above average and get on base with your walks, right? And then you still have Gallo, right? So you got four strong outfielders. I'm not worried about the outfield. Everybody knows the outfield's pretty solid. I don't know what the backup catcher, unless it's still Kyle,
Yeah,
Higashioka. I do think they need to keep looking at that and analyze that position a little bit further. Especially if Sanchez has another bad year.
I
I
wanted
don't.
I wanted Stallings from Pittsburgh, dude. I wanted him.
Oh, really?
Yep, I wanted Stallings. Yep, because
Oh
because
man.
he's a Gold Glove phenomenal defending catcher. Which at this point, I just if the guy can put the bat on the ball sometimes, and we could just have a freaking wall back there, that's all I would love a great defensive catcher these days. After what we've had to
It
suffer.
makes you miss the Posada days. I'll tell you that. I always
No,
love Posada. He didn't get enough credit. He didn't get enough credit.
yeah, but
So
so to answer your question before,
yeah,
shortstop
yeah.
and first base, absolutely. Because even with
Okay.
Freeman, if you want to name the fourth one, I can't see like as much as I would love him. Don't get me wrong.
That'd be great.
Awfully hard to imagine him leaving Atlanta. So
It is
and
very hard. I could see it. I really could see it. I just don't think that that's how I would want to go after first base right now.
right, and that's
That's
plenty
the
fair.
money needs to go to Story or Correa or whoever
Exactly.
else is
I
still
agree.
available.
I
So
agree. But
yeah,
regardless, you need a good because having a great first baseman, like you just said, even taking stress off the third and second baseman and the shortstop, it elevates the whole infield,
right.
dude. So
And
and
I could tell you right now, Gleyber Torres was never a shortstop. I knew that from the moment they were already having those conversations. I was like, why are you moving a guy who just had a career year at second base, absolutely career year, and you're pushing him to go do something as tough as shortstop? I just didn't. I've never saw that panning out the way they thought it would.
I tried to be optimistic, and I was saying
I had to hold my
I'm
tongue forever until
really
he failed at it, so then I could
no,
say I knew.
I was really just trying to be optimistic. I was going out to like I think he could do it, but then like 2 months in, I was out on it already. I was like,
Yeah,
this is not working out.
yeah, yeah. Final
But
question, final segment for you, because I'm running out of time, and I try to keep things a little bit shorter so my guests can kind of go back to live their evening because it is a weekday. Since you are a big fan of Star Wars, I got 6 Yankees for you. You could give me quick answers. You can give me explanations if you like. You choose. Do you think they're more of a Jedi, the good side, or a Sith, the bad side? So I'll start it off. We've already talked about him. Aaron Judge.
he's got to be a Jedi, dude.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
okay. I think that's an easy one. It's an easy way to start it off. Easy way to start it off.
There are times where he gets a little like devilish, like with the boombox crap and all that stuff. But, like,
Yeah.
he's
But
a Jedi.
it always backfires on him, which I wish it didn't. I wish it didn't.
And just like a lot of the Jedi ideals backfire on them throughout the story. He's
Right.
a Jedi. He's a Jedi.
Yeah, okay. And that's the thing. We're called the Evil Empire, but we got a lot of guys on the team, I think, that don't, aren't really a Sith. So,
Yep.
Gary Sheffield.
This one's. I'm gonna say Sith.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a dog, though, at the plate. I mean,
No,
God, I
this-
missed
he
that.
was-
I missed that.
yeah,
If we
yeah.
had him as a DH right now, oh, my
Like, if
God.
I could say like there's like no such thing, but he's like a light Sith. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
He's like a Dooku.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
He's
good.
like, I don't really believe in anything anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
Yeah.
believe in the system. I'm just going for it.
Roger Clemens.
Oh, Sith.
Okay. All the yeah.
Sith.
Yeah. He likes to
Probably-
instigate.
Probably like Palpatine himself.
Oh, that far. Love it. Somehow he came back. George's box, right?
Oh, please.
Yeah. All right. All right. Brett Gardner.
He's definitely a Jedi, but there's also like this aggression and fire to him that he's a very passionate Jedi.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna go Jedi for Gardner.
Do you think does he like resemble like a younger Anakin? You think like when he was really hitting the dugout ceiling, like really,
That's what I like. His passion, which a lot of like the older Jedi would consider be like reckless or like look seeking adventure, but like, so that's what makes me like iffy. But as far as like what he is to the Yankees, he's definitely a Jedi, but he's got passion there for sure. Definitely.
Okay, cool deal. All right, Gary Sanchez.
Trying to think of a Star Wars character that's like a victim of a lot of. He's kind of like Jar Jar.
Oh dang. that's not even. He's not even a Jedi. He's like
exactly. A lot of people. I'm going that route, like not even Jedi, because like he gets a lot of hate. Which
or is he like a Finn, where like he's teased as this huge Jedi, and then somehow
that's it. Yes,
doesn't pan out.
So
somehow.
Still not even a Jedi or a Sith.
Terrible writing by Disney. Come on.
Some sort of outside character that you feel like you got ripped off on, and they get a lot of hate for it. So Jar Jar, or even though he had potential, but Finn.
I've always felt like they could have totally fixed Finn's story appropriately, and they could have totally brought in like episode. I always get confused with the next 8. They could have said like he was stolen from like Luke's training, you know what I mean? Like he could have been like a Jedi in training. It's something like that. They just completely botched this whole storyline.
Two really quick things with Finn, just really quick.
Yeah, sure.
There were a bunch of things that have been done in Star Wars already that they tackled again in the sequels. The desert, the child on the desert planet, just a bunch of like a second empire in the First Order. A lot of things done all over again. One thing they never did in Star Wars was a stormtrooper turning good, and they botched it. And in Episode 8. With what you said, they had plans, I guess, of him from Episode 7 being Force sensitive. Didn't introduce him until 9 because they had no.
I know.
But then in 8, even like it's an epic moment about to sacrifice himself, and then they ruined it for the most awkward kiss in cinema history. So
yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Lost potential.
That's Abrams should have just held the whole, done the whole thing, and it probably would have been better than what we got, but. Would it have been everything and more? Probably not either.
We could do an hour based on the.
We could. I love to talk Star Wars more with you. For sure. Last person, A-Rod, because I feel like the easy answer is to say a Sith, right? Because he's so hated. But at the other time, it's like, but outside of baseball, he's really done his look. But I'm not really taking all that outside. I'm not taking outside of baseball into account here.
I was going to say exactly. So like, if you were, I'd actually lean more towards Gray Jedi.
Yeah.
Like he's in the middle. Like sort of like Ahsoka almost, like not, even though Ahsoka was evil, never evil, but like
right
in the middle there. But as a player, you have to go Sith. But if you're just accounting his whole life and his post baseball careers.
You have to. Yeah, I'm not doing that for everybody here. For sure. I'm just specifically talking. Yeah. Okay, Evil Empire it is. Yep. Evil. I didn't say Derek Jeter. We already would have known that answer. It's too easy.
Derek Jeter's freaking. He's Yoda or Obi-Wan.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on, taking the time out of your day, things like that. Hopefully we could talk more soon.
No, dude, it was a blast. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, man.
Really good time.
All right. Take care, man.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to the Louisville Sluggers podcast. As always, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Louisville Sluggers and on Twitter at L-Town Sluggers. Thanks again.